Now, before we actually mix our song, let me give you some tips on scheduling and planning out your mix process. Yes, more planning, because you're not just working on one song. I think it's easy to like move from recording a song to mixing a song. But when you have 4 or 5 or 6 songs and you have deadlines of when you're releasing all of these songs, well, man, you need to really have a good schedule for the mix process and not just, I'm gonna mix this week. I mean, break down that week of mixing or 2 weeks or a month or however much time you're giving yourself to mix. Break it down hour by hour. Okay, what do I mean by this? Well, mixing is going to involve really 2 processes. I wanted to break it up, but for the sake of the course, we're gonna call it all mixing. There's really a step before mixing called editing. And this is the process where you fix timing issues, fix tuning issues, maybe comp together the vocals, right? So if you had 3 vocal takes and they were all pretty good, you're picking and choosing the best parts of each take and creating your one final composite vocal take. Maybe it's just sort of adjusting the pocketing of a little riff or whatever it might be. Editing and cleaning up and maybe deleting some stuff or some noise in between, some tom hits, whatever you like to do for editing, that's really an entirely different mental space than mixing. It's not creative as much as it is technical. I like it because it's black or white, it's objective. It's either in time or not in time. It's either in tune or not in tune. And so I like that mental space because it's really clear when you're done. Now, it's easy to over edit it, and we're not going to get into that today. And all I would say for that is don't over edit. Just make sure there's no mistakes or glaring issues that distract you from the song. If there's like a timing issue that's always distracting, or that one note that you sang that's just always flat and just takes you out of the song, that's a distraction. You can fix that in editing. But what I would suggest is that you schedule time to edit your songs. Edit all 5 or all 4 or all 6. Edit before you do any true mixing, like we'll get into in the next video. So if it's, let's say you're literally gonna take a week off of work or school or whatever, you're gonna give yourself a week to mix. In an ideal situation, you got a whole week to mix. Well, I would honestly, if I had 5 songs, I would take one day to edit all 5 of those songs. It might just be an hour for each song of cleaning up, timing issues, a little bit of tuning. It might be 2 hours. It depends on how complicated your song is, but give yourself a day or 2. So I'm talking 8 to 15 hours, like max. Like it could be 5 to 10 hours, honestly, to get all the edits done for your songs. A little bonus tip here is if you have your DAW open and you got the recording session, the project file, the session file, do a save as, right? Save as Myth of You edit. So it's a copy of the session, but it's now the edit, and you do all your edits there. So you could always go back to the unedited version if you really wanted to. And when you're done with the edits, then you can do another save as Myth of You mix. And then now you got a whole other session that you can start mixing, but you always have the raw edited tracks that are unmixed that you could always go back to. But it really does help to get the editing done, because the last thing you want is when you're in like creative mode and you're coming up with reverbs and delays and you're thinking about tone and EQ and cool parallel tricks or whatever you're doing, the last thing you want to be dealing with is like a timing issue or a tuning issue. Oh, that fill is really, really late. It just takes you out of that creative mental space. So I really would recommend you get all that objective, boring cleanup work done and then mix it. And this is how the big boys and big girls do it, right? The professional mix engineers, the Chris Lord-Alges, the Andrew Sheps, they don't edit their own mixes. They have assistants, and that's what their assistants do. Their assistants go through and arrange all the tracks in a nice order and label things, and they clean up stuff, and they do tuning, they do tightening of the timing issues. So what they present to the mixer is just everything's ready to go. Just grab the faders, grab your EQs and compressors, and mix. And that's where you want to be. So schedule your editing time, and then map out when you're gonna mix. Like put it on the calendar. Tuesday, the 4th, or whatever it is, I'm gonna mix song 1. Wednesday, I'm gonna mix song 2. Or whatever it is. Have it on the calendar. Now, one question you might have is, how long does it take to mix a song? If you've never mixed before, you have no idea. If you've mixed before, you should have a good gauge of you and your tendencies to mix long or quick, and everybody's different. But I would say give yourself a solid 4 hours. It's just a rule of thumb. Give yourself a solid 4 hours per song to mix, like 4 working hours, not editing. You got the edits done, but 4 working hours. And here's how I would carve up those 4 hours. Hour 1 would be really quick mixing, and we'll talk about this in the next video, and getting overall balances put together. Hour 2 is going to be more fine-tuning the mix. And then you want to take a break, right? And you want to come back, and then hour 3 is going to be more of the creative decisions. Maybe it's the reverbs and delays and the automation. And then hour 4 is going to be, again, finalizing and tweaking and checking on different speakers. That's one sort of map you can use. And a little power tip for you is have a clock, have a timer on your phone, on your computer, and just set the timer so it buzzes every 45 minutes to an hour. Just to give you a little bit of pressure, a healthy pressure, not stressful pressure. You're in charge of your clock, but a little bit of healthy pressure to say, hey, I don't want to get lost in the weeds. I don't want to be spending 30 minutes EQing and compressing this little hi-hat track. And I'm trying to get it perfect. If the clock is ticking, you realize this is a waste of my time. This is not a big win. I want to focus on the big wins. And you're going to get a better mix because you're going to stay fresh. You're going to work quickly. If you work for 10, 12 hours on a mix, there's no way you stay objective. You just lose objectivity way too fast. So take the time you need, but don't take too much time. Work quickly, you'll get a better mix. And a final bonus tip for you, once all the mixes are done, come back on another day and just listen again and make tweaks based off of what you hear in the moment. When your ears are fresh, when you haven't listened to it in a few days, you'll notice immediately what needs to be fixed very, very quickly, and you can make those fixes.
Hey friend, this is Graham here from recordingrevolution.com.
And this is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com.
And we want to tell you about something super, super rad that we're doing. We love working on music together. We did a couple singles together and we decided, hey, selfishly, let's make a whole EP together.
Yeah.
And then we thought about like documenting it.
Yeah.
So you could see the whole process. But then we wanted to take it a step further and we like, wait, we can't just document this. Let's teach you how we actually create EPs step by step by step, and we want to bring you into that process.
Yeah, so we want to invite you into the whole process of creating an EP, and not just creating it, but we also want to walk you through what happens when you're done with that EP. How do you get it out into the world, and how do you actually build traction with the music that you've created?
So from no song idea to polishing up a final master to releasing it digitally to get it on Spotify and all the other platforms to getting your first 1,000 streams online, this program is going to walk you through our step-by-step process. So if you're a singer-songwriter or in a band and you just want that little push or kick in the butt to actually release some new music this year and actually get some traction with it, then this program is for you. Just hit the link below this video to sign up for the waitlist so you get first dibs and first access to when this course drops. We can't wait to bring you into the studio and show you our process.
Super excited. We'll see you there.